Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Yes, it's the Skeptic Zone podcast, episode number 524 for the 4th of November 2018. Richard Saunders here with you from Sydney, Australia, where summer has come, muggy weather has come. We had a very warm day a couple of days back. People were melting on the streets. Maynard was melting, but Maynard, even though Maynard was melting into a puddle, he and I still drove out to the Paranormal and Spiritual Expo here in Kashula. It's been going for 7 years now. Coming up in a couple of weeks, I think, we'll be having some reports and insights and interviews from that adventure. One of the things I love about going to those sort of things is when Maynard speaks to the true believers. It makes for some very interesting interviews. That's something to look forward to in the coming weeks. But this week, coming up this week, and hello to Pete Banks and Beth Darlington and all my friends I saw at the Paranormal and Spiritual Expo. Great people. Anyway, coming up this week, we have part 2 of Maynard's series with Yvette d'Entremont, the SciBabe. And Yvette will be talking about supplements and living in Trump's America. Actually, I think she was quite pleased to visit Australia for a while. Following that, Maynard speaks to Adam from the Herd Mentality podcast. Also catches up with Ruth Ellison, who does the Cranky Bot scientific jewellery. She was there. And also Tim Mendham and Jessica Singer from the Australian Skeptics. Following that, it's our occasional reporter Trish Hann. She's going to be talking about home birth and the situation I wasn't aware of where some people refuse to have what we might call standard or necessary or practical or sensible precautions and other things like vitamin K injections, ultrasounds, this sort of things when it comes to having a baby. A very concerning report from Trish Hann. Then to round off the show, we head for Sydney Skeptics in the pub. In the last week, we had David Rosenberg, who you've been hearing on the Skeptic Zone, talking about his book Pine Gap. He gave a presentation to a room full of skeptics about this joint Australian-US intelligence gathering base in the middle of Australia. There's a TV show on at the moment, so there's lots of interest in this. He gave a very interesting talk, and some people in the audience they put very tough questions to him. And it was good, of course, because everybody deserves to have meaningful but tough questions come their way. Anyway, Maynard talks to David Rosenberg, then to Mandy Lee Noble, our reporter for the Skeptic Zone, who was at Skeptics in the Pub. Great to see Mandy, and also Jessica Singer and me. But now it's time for me to run downstairs, and I think today I might enjoy a ham and mustard sandwich. I like the hot English mustard, you know that? Ooh, yeah. While I do that, and a cup of coffee. While I do that, I hope you enjoy the Skeptic Zone.
Here's Maynard's spooky action at a distance.
And someone who's scouting out the situation today is the SciBabe, or how do you say your surname? It's d'Entremont.
We're close. It's Yvette d'Entremont, and correct pronunciation on the SciBabe, but I don't think that was our concern. And thank you for having me here at Australian Skeptics Conference.
It's very exciting. What about movies? Do they do any slightly better in the forensics game? Because there's the one with Angelique Jolie Bones or something like that. There was one where, and there's a lot about the contamination of the crime scene in that and all sorts of things. That one.
I'm trying to. Did I see that one?
I think what it was. Yeah.
I don't think I'm not sure if I'm going to have to go with. I don't remember that one well enough to comment. But
But you're the person in the movie who just throws their pencils on the floor and the nuts in the air and go that's what happens.
It's kind of like a doctor watching House. Nope, can't do it. And it's like I love the show House, but it's like I can't. I know watching it because I have a few my body's kind of a lemon. There are just things that I'm like, how are these many things broken? We can't send it back to the factory and get a new. We just have to start over. But like, I've been on a few of the medications that they've shown on the show, and I've had a few of but it's like whenever they show it, they show the cartoonish representation of things. Like there was, they had like I've been on a seizure medication for a headache condition that I have.
They have a whole range of side effects.
They can, and I mean, you kind of find one based on how well it works for pain management and how well you tolerate the side effects. And one of the side effects of this, which was what they focused on House, was that it can cause aphasia. And aphasia sometimes it can cause me to be a little stuttery, and other times it can just cause you to sit there and go, I can't find my words. Like you'll kind of see the first letter of it, or you'll see it in front of you and you can't say it. And the worst part of that is I'll be doing podcasts or I'll be on stage and I can't. But watching,
so the brain will be working, but the difficulty is converting it into speech, right?
Yeah, but the way they showed this on House, with this guy, like he'd hit his head, and it turned out that he had been trying to treat bipolar disorder with this medication, and it's very rarely used to try, like it's used as kind of a last ditch effort for that. But they were showing it like he couldn't get a single word out that was accurate. He was saying things like, "I couldn't tackle the bear," the same, like it's like it was, there was nothing that made any sense. Like the weird, for me, I would say words that sounded like the word that I was looking for. Like one day I had left my shoes in my friend's garage, and this was like one of the weirder but more concrete examples. And I said to her, I'm like, yeah, I think I left my shoes in the giraffe. Like, which was just, it was the first time, like I'd only been on the medication for a few weeks. I'm like, what the hell? Where did that come from? But like, that's kind of the type of thing that would happen. And the medication's called Topamax. It was a really great episode of the show. But watching the way they represented someone's brain on this was just so inaccurate. And that, stuff like that, like exaggerations on the weirdest, like most rare part of a disorder happened a lot. And it's like, I imagine if me just watching this as someone who's had chronic illness issues, sees all of this, my God, what does a doctor see? It has to be a lot.
We've got a couple of chronic illness people here. There's Alice from Skeptics in a K too. She has some chronic issues as well. Do you think there's anything in skepticism linked there? Because your first-hand experience of science.
I would guess, and I mean, my illnesses were what kind of led me to this. I got worst headache of my life one day, never went away. And if I hadn't known this cluster of headache symptoms exist, I wouldn't have believed it. Basically, the left side of my head, if I wasn't on medication, would always have a dull ache. And then it's before I was put on meds, anywhere from 60 to a couple hundred times a day, I would feel like I was being stabbed in the eye by a knife that's on fire, which highly recommend. It's awesome. No. Anyway, so
how could you get anything done? Did you manage to get anything done?
A lot of crying and being miserable. Like the first 2 weeks was just, do I have a sinus infection and am I getting migraine? I just didn't know, so we went through the progression of things. And like after the first few weeks, you're miserable and you think it's going to end eventually. After like 3 months, you're like you still have hope that one day you'll find a thing that fixes it. And after 8 months, I wasn't suicidally depressed, but I was like, man, if they don't find a way to fix this in 3 years, I can't do this for another 60. And I mean, this got real quickly. But it's that thing where people don't understand how badly chronic pain affects your life. And like, I looked really healthy. I was a runner. I was like, if this is going wrong with me, let's make sure that everything else is healthy. So I started eating ridiculously healthy. I started going to the gym all the time. And, I fell for all those things on the internet saying it's the toxins. I went vegan. I went organic. I did all the things. And it turned out what I needed was medicine.
Look, a similar thing happened to me in the early 90s. I was every joint in my body ached except my knees started aching, and it would just, in the morning I'd wake up. And eventually, and I only realised this in retrospect, I was taking a supplement called lysine complex. And one day I went to the health store to get it because I thought it was helping me sleep, and it wasn't there. They said, it's not available anymore. And I went, oh, okay. And then the symptoms went away. And then I was watching a Discovery Channel documentary a few years later. And at that time, the only lysine complex was Japan was one of the major. It was polluted or contaminated with strychnine. I was having a low-level continuous strychnine poisoning.
That's
I was going to immunologists, and they worked all the way to HIV and back and everything, and he couldn't figure. And of course, no one ran a tox screen. Why would you run a tox screen? Yeah, because it wasn't even worth mentioning to him I was taking this herbal supplement, and that's what it was. Lysine complex from Japan in the early 90s. Look it up on the internet. It was contaminated with strychnum, which I believe is pretty poisonous.
That can be deadly. Yeah. I mean, there are so many. And this is why I tell people, if you're going to use a supplement, I mean, there's pretty much nothing on the market in the supplement market other than a very, very small handful of them that can be used for gaining muscle mass. And please, talk to a reputable source.
Isn't that what steroids are for?
They found that creatinine 5 to 10 milligrams a day, along with a high protein diet and an exercise routine in which you're lifting, can, for some people, help with increasing muscle mass. But it doesn't. Like, some people don't respond to it. It's a fairly inexpensive supplement, and if you're trying to lift and gain muscle mass, nothing wrong with it. There are a small handful of other ones that, if your big thing is that you're a lifter, bodybuilder, can be useful. But the main one that almost everyone will recommend that's in the bodybuilding, lifting world is creatinine. Tons of evidence that it works. Mm-hmm. The other ones that, basically folic acid, if you are trying to get pregnant or if you are currently pregnant, that one, absolutely proof that it works. And then they kind of drop off from there. So if you're someone who has an absorption issue, or if you're someone who your doctor has said, yep, your blood levels came back and you're low on this, obviously try to manage it with diet first. But if you haven't heard from a doctor, you need to take a supplement for this. Don't take one. Like, you are not milk thistle deficient. Okay. You're not deficient on all these random little things from plants that you've never heard of. You're not ginseng deficient. I promise you. Wow. And especially, I mean, I get it that it's, that, we're also not Cheetos deficient. Like, there are a lot of things that we can deal with less of, but I mean, you absolutely don't need a supplement from an unregulated industry that you have no idea what's in that thing, because we've seen from testing that some of these don't contain the amount or the ingredients that they say they do. So please be careful with your health. Talk to your doctor if you want to see if you're low on any vitamins or any nutrients, but don't get yourself a strychnine contaminated.
Yeah. Oh, look, and because the reason it was on the shelves is because the government removed it, because they tested it at some stage and they removed it from the country. And of course, no one in the health food store told me that. That's why it wasn't on the shelf anymore. I thought it was some overbearing government regulation that had taken it away from me. I didn't know that.
So I've gotten less angry about government regulations the more I've seen bad science.
Trump's America. What's it like being a science communicator in Trump's America?
Do you have some tissues? I know. I don't want to say I've given up, but I've given up. Like, what do I do when I have to fight with skeptics to get them to believe that climate change is real? Like, that has been the biggest surprise to me, that skeptics are like don't believe in climate change. And like, there has been, at least in America, this huge invasion of people who call themselves skeptics, and what they're skeptical about isn't bad science. They're not skeptical about the things that are hurting people. They want to be skeptical about feminism, and I'm like, we have other fish to fry right now that's really hurting people. And you know what? I get it. Everyone has their different things they prioritize, but this is
Trump sucks a lot out of the news cycle too. So everything, particularly in the US, I imagine, related to him. And sure, what he's doing has far-reaching consequences, without a doubt. But there's other things that are going unreported because of that, and I guess that would be a problem.
I mean, there are things that Trump does that go underreported because of all the things that Trump's doing. Like, there have been major cuts to different educational agencies. There have been cuts to, I believe, some of the student loan repayment programs, and it's kind of maddening when you're looking at this going, I just want to get people educated and hopefully have everyone who wants to and has the capability to study science go as far as their aptitude and their willingness to work hard will take them. And I don't feel like we're that country anymore, and that really depresses me. And it's just, once upon a time, I thought that it was worth fighting for it, and I hope I get that back.
Okay,
but right
so
now,
if you got President Elizabeth Warren in, how long would it take to turn the boat around again? Assuming there was a majority in the Senate and the lower house.
Well, it does. I mean, we're hoping. It does seem like there will be that we're going to retake at least the House, possibly the Senate with this coming election in a couple weeks.
Yeah, because what if Hillary wants to run again?
It doesn't. Well, it doesn't seem like she will. I mean, she said she won't. I hope, and I mean, I might get some flack from your listeners, but I hope Bernie Sanders doesn't. And it's not because I won't vote. If he somehow does get the nomination, I will vote for whoever has the D after their name on the ballot. There's no goddamn way.
Let's get Noam Chomsky and don't muck about.
Yeah, let's go hard on this one, guys.
Look, I've got a fellow podcaster here in the foyer. Who have we got?
Adam from the Herd Mentality podcast.
Which has been around for ages. It's well known. And you were just saying you've got a few Patreons now, which is sort of balancing the costs of the show. But it's a tough slog, isn't it?
It is. And the amount of work and editing that goes into this, trying to edit out ums, ahs, the rest of it. Yeah. You're nodding heavily in agreement there.
Oh, yeah, because look, when I do Bunga Bunga with Tim Ferguson, like that show, there's something like 328 edits in a half-hour show. Yeah. And then I've got to find all the bits and pieces of music and stuff and that. And I'm exhausted. It's like almost 3 or 4 days by the time that's gone on. You get plenty of mentions. I mean, I've even heard I think I've heard your show mentioned on No Agenda, I think.
Oh, wow.
I've heard your show mentioned in a wide range of things. So
you've been on my show.
I have been on your show, yes.
Last time was with Tim Ferguson when we were at we were at Skeptics in the pub. Or it may have even been this event last year.
Because you've got the ability to do lots of voices and things, and that's something I can never do.
They're not good voices.
Oh, you make an attempt.
They're poor approximations of other people. That's about as good as I can get. Yes.
Haven't you been on Cognitive Dissonance and a few ones like that as well?
Yeah, Tom Cecil, been on The Scathing Atheist several times, making fun of the usual religious nutbaggery that goes on. But yeah, the more fun.
They would get you to do the Ken Ham voice, wouldn't they?
No, more of a Ray Comfort. They prefer my Ray Comfort. Okay. I get very, very angry about things that aren't really they don't make much sense at all.
Well, personally, what gets your skeptical goat most of the time? There's the goat in the field, the skeptical goat. What is it?
I'm heading off to get my goat.
Yes.
Just lies. Just people, whether knowingly or unknowingly, lying, and perhaps finding ways to better help them and their thought processes in order to believe less nonsense and more true things. Because this came up in the conversation the other day. I love paying taxes. I just got my tax refund back, but I love paying taxes. I don't mind paying a lot of tax because I know it goes towards education. And that then leads into a society where I have to put up with fewer idiots. There are a plethora of different topics that are being discussed here at the Skeptics Convention. We've just had a speaker, Alyssa Tunis, doing a speech on gullibility, which I thought was absolutely fabulous because that's an interest of mine. Why do people... And I work in sales, so I rely on people being gullible in order to buy my stuff. A bit like being a podcaster. They've got to be gullible to give me their money in order for me to produce the sort of nonsense that I produce.
Yeah.
So if I can either learn how to exploit it better, that puts me in a better position, or if I can help them overcome their obstacles to not be ripped off, then maybe they'll have more money to give me of their own volition.
Oh, so self-interest.
In both cases.
Radical self-interest you're into there. Because as much as a listener might think, it's kind of weird for me to give money to a podcaster, from the other side of the thing, as a podcaster, I am completely surprised when anyone actually goes, here's $1 a month.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wow. And you really shouldn't be surprised because it's very nice of them, but it just comes as a slight shock, doesn't it?
On the very odd occasion when the Patreon email pops up and says, you've been paid $1.17 for all your hard work this particular month that you didn't publish an episode, I'm stoked. Look, the Herd Mentality podcast, for those who haven't yet had the misfortune of hearing
Go listen to it, people.
You'll either laugh or cry, probably both. But I do like to mix in a fair chunk of humour, whereby you'll laugh first but think later, maybe much later.
Well, have a good time. Have you got a bit of a theme over what you're going to be doing over this podcast weekend for yourself?
Much the same as you are, Maynard, running around.
Find out what's going on and then edit it later.
I ambush people.
That's always good.
In fact, there's somebody right now, Heidi, from the vaccination...
Oh, yes. Northern Rivers.
Yes. Now, she's an absolute dead set champion. She said she sent me a tweet during the show, said we've got to catch up for coffee, so as soon as...
We'll look forward to hearing that. And where can we catch your show?
Herd Mentality Podcast, HERD, for those who can't spell or get the joke. Mm-hmm. And Maynard, it's been an absolute pleasure seeing you again.
Yay! Okay, look. Now, which one of you two is the spokesperson for the jewellery?
Oh, it's both of us, Ellison and Ruth.
Oh, okay.
It's a joint effort.
Now, like I say, it's a bit like the reason party in politics. Skeptical jewellery is a bit of a hard sell sometimes because people can't see the connection, can they?
No, but I think we're lucky in Canberra. People are more science-based there, so they really enjoy this kind of, wearing a bit of science communication.
And so what would be your favourite bit of skeptical jewellery that you got on sale this weekend here? Because I can see lots of stuff with lots of symbols on it.
Yeah, we've got a lot of molecules. A few of my favourite things are chocolate and caffeine and happiness, serotonin.
Okay. So I'm looking at a ring here and it's got like a sort of a molecular structure on the wooden ring. What is it?
So this is a bamboo ring featuring the theobromine, which is chocolate. Caffeine molecule.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It sparks a conversation if people, what's that? Oh, it's the molecule of chocolate. And they go, huh? There we go. Yeah. Oh, so have you been asked any strange questions by people? Because these do inspire questions.
Sorry, what's that?
Any strange questions by people? Because these do inspire questions like, how did you make that?
No, I actually have people recognizing as you walk down the street going, are you wearing caffeine around your neck? And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Let's start talking about science.
That's such a Canberran thing to do.
It is.
Because everyone's in a hurry to get home because it's going to get cold at 3 o'clock. Yeah.
You're right. I haven't had anybody stop me in Sydney yet, but...
Okay. Well, have a good time here at this thing.
Thanks.
What's your website for jewelry?
Crankybot.com.
Again?
Crankybot, CRANKY.com.
Well, we're actually out on the concourse. This is the rare bit of fresh air I get in the last 3 days. I don't see much fresh air in 3 days, do I, Richard?
You don't, and it's really nice to just step out for a moment. It's a nice day, really. It was raining before, but it's really pleasant out here. It's nice.
The American guests, I apologise, our weather's normally a bit better than this, and they said, that's fine, we're from Los Angeles, it's always sunny there.
It's always sunny in Burbank, Maynard. It's always sunny. No, this is quite pleasant. Everyone's at lunch.
Yeah.
We went to the foyer to see if we can chat to somebody, but there's nobody there.
Yeah.
Nobody there.
Yep. It's a good time for filming some TV and radio right now, so we should just get some done. But is there anything you think we need to get out of this weekend? Is there something that we need to really imprint upon the listener about the very nature of what's going on here?
Well, if the listener aren't here, if you happen not to be here. I mean, if you were here and you're listening to this podcast, you know how entertaining it's been and informative, and that's the message. It's all very well to hear reports or see internet videos, but to be part of the crowd. That last speaker, for example, had an interactive system where she was asking for responses, and you went to a web page on your smartphone, you tapped in your response, and they all appeared on the screen.
Cool.
Just instantly, and I thought, what a good idea.
It's better than a show of hands. You could have a show of hands, Richard.
Oh, yeah, you could, depending on the situation, but she was saying, what word comes to mind when, and she gave an example, and everyone's busily typing words and they all appear on the board.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, it's great things like that. And just chatting to people.
Look, I'm very keen to talk to Alice from Skeptics with a K, because she works with Marsh, of course, who wants to transform the English socialised medicine scene, which is a big one.
I saw her... Oh, a little while. She's probably gone off to find a sushi or something.
Oh, look, I don't blame her. As long as she doesn't go to that place I went to that nearly killed me down there. Remember you having lunch there with Alethea? And you bought me something that I had 2 mouthfuls of it and almost killed me. It was the hottest thing ever.
Well, listeners might have seen the video that we did where Alethea is here saying, come to Chatswood for the convention. It's a wonderful food scene, and you're in every shot as a background extra.
And I'm dying in the background because I've still got chili in my mouth from that horrible restaurant that killed me.
We took you to a restaurant and you ordered something, and it came with a health warning, I think. It was hot. I couldn't hardly eat it.
Well, we've got lots more interviews to come, and we aren't even halfway through. In fact, there might even be a few from the dinner tonight that I'm hosting. There's a magician on at the dinner which should be fairly interesting as well. Do you know who it is?
No, that's a surprise to me. He'll appear from somewhere.
We'll all find out later.
I'm here at the Skeptics table here. Tim Mendham's been doing the whole thing. How have the sales been going today of everything you got here?
They've been going excellently, actually. The hotcakes have been selling like hotcakes.
Well, one thing you haven't got one of these, have you? You haven't got the 1969 Star Trek original puzzle book.
I do, actually. I've got 2 copies of that, actually. Signed, yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, I bet you haven't got it coloured in as bad as I have. Just look at this. Here's my work on Captain Kirk's... There we go, look at that. You haven't...
A pink face, our yellow face on Captain Kirk is even better.
And it's great. Even in a cartoon drawing...
You cannot...
He's
unrecognisable?
Yep, everything was exactly the same. Look, even his toupee moves around in every shot. It's different, yeah.
I think I was more a Thunderbirds person, actually.
Well, I do have the Thunderbirds one as well. I thought we'd just be a bit more, evangelical to different faiths and bring the Star Trek, you see. And look, there's ones I haven't done. That means that next time there's a rainy day and everything goes bung, I can fill out the old book here. What do you think, Jessica?
Oh, I think it's just brilliant. The line work, the shading, the colour appreciation. It's just a work of art.
Yeah, I think I like the yellow Enterprise flying through a cabbage. And what witches' hats have got to do anything, I got no idea. Yeah.
Well, it says
that was a sombrero. Like a sombrero.
Sorry.
And it says name the wearers. So who used to wear the tam o'shanter?
That'd be a Scotsman.
And who used to wear the turban?
That would be someone from the Middle East.
From Turbania,
or perhaps Indian.
And a fireman's helmet.
I guess their giveaway is it would be a medic.
But are these not meant to be hats of Star Trek characters?
Well, I think you'll find that... Scotty? Oh, yeah, you're right. Captain.
I don't realise this, actually.
I didn't get it. That's too hard for me.
And here we have
Fez.
The Fez.
Fez. Well, that'd be Doctor Who. That would be future Doctor Who.
And Maynard, of course.
And me, of course, too. No Fez tonight, but there we go. So there's that. That's a very special book I'll be showing lots of people. I'll have to get my photo taken. There we go. Look at this. There we go.
Calling all Skeptic Zone listeners. Do you live in or near Glasgow, or are you planning to visit sometime? Then you're in luck, because the Glasgow Skeptics have got your Monday nights sorted. We're committed to filling up every available Monday night with talks on science and skepticism. Past speakers include Eugenie Scott, Jerry Coyne, Michael Marshall, Nate Phelps, Tom and Cecil from Cognitive Dissonance, P.Z. Myers, Richard Wiseman, A.C. Grayling, Noah Heath and Eli from The Scathing Atheist, Simon Singh, Rebecca Watson, and a multitude of local academics and skeptics. There's literally nothing better you can do on a Monday night in Glasgow that doesn't involve taking your clothes off. So come join us. We've also got a vibrant online community. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and get involved with the discussion. Glasgow Skeptics. Self-help for your brain.
The other day, I saw a post being shared on social media which worried me. The post contained a photo of a woman holding newborn twins and was accompanied with a very emoji-laden paragraph which said, quote, "What a home birth full of unexpected surprises, literally one after the other. Mum gave birth to her sweet little baby boy in water, and then we thought the placenta was about to come, but, as it turned out, there was another baby boy about to make his entrance into the world. What a superhero mum she is, what an amazing birth." End quote. When I first saw this, my first thought was, crikey, imagine having to give birth at home to double the amount of babies you were expecting. Then I did some more reading of the Facebook page this was posted on, and I waded through a sea of red flags. According to 10 Moons Home Birth Services of Melbourne, this mother elected not to have ultrasounds during her pregnancy, which is why the twins were a surprise. As a radiographer, this fact really shook me. My sonographer colleagues are easily some of the busiest people in the department, and fetal scanning is non-stop, day in, day out. So to think that there are women out there who are deliberately avoiding this staple of antenatal care is just mind-blowing. This sent me down the rabbit hole of anecdotes from women who had decided to go through their entire pregnancies with no ultrasound scans whatsoever, usually because of the fear that the scans are harmful to their babies. Spoiler alert, they aren't. Ultrasound scans performed by trained sonographers are completely safe. Ultrasound scans performed by trained sonographers save lives. 19% of 10 Moon's customers chose not to have any sonography at all during their pregnancy. A huge risk, not just because of the aforementioned surprise twins, but also to screen for conditions such as anencephaly, a condition where the brain does not develop, spina bifida, where the spinal cord develops abnormally, and to check for the general development and movement of the fetus to make sure it's growing as it should be. Antenatal ultrasound scans are also used to determine whether a pregnancy is viable and to make sure it doesn't pose a risk to the mother, such as in the case of ectopic pregnancies. An important part of the antenatal scan, and something parents often love, is hearing the fetal heartbeat. This is a magical experience for the parents, as it's often the thing that really makes the whole process real and tangible. And I'm very privileged to have witnessed mothers hear their baby's heartbeats for the first time, and it's truly wondrous. I have also been there for the sad times when there hasn't been a heartbeat, and these cases are both devastating and dangerous. As the fetal tissue begins to decay, the risk of sepsis increases, and this is a major cause of maternal death. The fetus needs to be removed immediately and completely, and in places where abortion services are limited due to the law, hello New South Wales, these restrictions can cost lives. So why wouldn't you want an ultrasound of your baby? I completely understand not wanting to know the baby's sex prior to birth. We have a bizarre fixation on the genitalia of others. And I totally comprehend not wanting to post your grey and black splotchy picture on Facebook. I applaud it, in fact. But what I cannot fathom is the complete avoidance of a very important and very available screening tool. Apparently, there are some people out there who believe that ultrasound scans are a government conspiracy to kill babies or make them left-handed or something, honestly. And while improper use of ultrasound can be risky, in the hands of a trained professional, it won't harm your fetus. So I wondered what other healthcare some expectant parents are avoiding during pregnancy. It turns out there's a lot. 10 Moon's home birth services of Melbourne proudly boast that 31% of their customers declined the newborn screening test. This is the heel prick test that can check for conditions such as congenital hypothyroidism, cystic fibrosis, amino acid disorders, and a whole heap of other conditions which can be life-threatening if untreated. They also say that 85% of customers declined the vitamin K injection for their newborns. That's the injection that prevents clotting disorders, thereby stopping babies from bleeding to death hours after being born, a very real risk in neonates. 10 Moon's home birth services are very pleased that 91% of their customers don't bother testing for neonatal hypoglycemia, and 99% aren't worried about the risks of Group B streptococcus infections being transmitted to newborn infants, which is terrifying because hypoglycemia and Group B strep are both very, very treatable, but if undetected, have high morbidity and mortality rates. But what's all the fuss about? Antenatal screening has only been around relatively recently in the timeline of human existence, and we haven't gone extinct, so is it really such a big deal? Well, yeah. Sure, mothers of yore gave birth without drugs, without scans, without vitamin K, and without hearing their baby's heartbeat. But do you know what a huge percent of those mothers did experience? Death during childbirth. So like everything, whether it's polio, measles, whooping cough or hemorrhagic disease of the newborn, when modern healthcare becomes so good that these conditions are no longer prevalent, privileged people become complacent, negligent even. The iron lung is a museum artefact, so let's not bother vaccinating anymore. No one in my family died of newborn hemorrhagic disease, so put that vitamin injection down. There are women across the world dying because they don't have access to healthcare, while rich Australians are deliberately avoiding it. This isn't female empowerment, this is endangerment. And we, as science advocates, need to be doing everything within our power to address this behaviour and help stop it from becoming widespread. This is Trish Hann for the Skeptic Zone.
Hey, fellow skeptics.
Ben Radford here.
With Celestia Ward.
Your friendly host of Squaring the Strange.
A podcast that looks at topics ranging from legends, panics, and cryptids.
To media myths, psychology, and folklore.
Breaking things down and picking things apart.
As we skeptics do.
We bring a few different perspectives on things.
Celestia, for example, is a witty cartoonist.
And Ben is a brilliant writer and longtime skeptical investigator.
We don't always agree.
But we have fun trying.
And we learn new things.
Join us for new topics every week or two.
Or browse our backlog of evergreen episodes.
Available on iTunes and all your podcast feeding troughs.
Squaring the Strange.
Take care, strangers.
Bye-bye.
Well, here we are at Skeptics at the pub. Of course, everyone's excited because the Skepticon has gone on. I think that's my food going off there. That's right. But yes, Skepticon has happened, and it's going to be all happening here tonight for the November Skeptics in the pub. Tonight we've got David Rosenberg, who's going to be talking about his book Pine Gap. He was, as we have had on the show before, he is the technical advisor to the ABC series Pine Gap, and of course he worked there for 18 years, so he knows a lot of stuff that he hasn't been telling us, and particularly me. I've been asking him stuff about ASIS. Look them up in your book, the Australian Security Agency, ASIS. They're our CIA. You don't hear about them as much as ASIO, but a tip of the hat to them for whatever work they're doing, wherever it is, just as long as it's not my place. Because, David, just before you go on, you're a bit of a performer, you are a bit of an actor as well. How do you prepare to go on in front of a strange audience like this about to talk about your book? Because it is a very personal thing. You're not dealing with, it's your book material and stuff you've written.
I just approach every talk pretty much the same. I go out with a positive attitude. I look at people, I smile, I let them know that I'm here for them. So to give them some information that they want to know more about. And if anyone has any questions for me, I'm always willing to answer whatever I can.
See, we're all about lifestyle tips here on the Skeptic Zone, and that's a good advice for anyone giving a talk about anything. Get out there, be positive, and of course occasionally with your topic you get people to go, ooh, I don't like US bases, blah, 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 blah. You get the occasional person like that. How do you handle them?
I have had hecklers before, but that's okay because I think that everybody's entitled to their opinion. If I know that what they're telling me is just sensationalized and not correct, I basically tell them, hey, you're entitled to your opinion, but this is what actually happens. Right. So, yes.
So will you be revealing to us tonight exactly the resolution that spy satellites have at ground level of number plates and stuff?
I wish I knew the answer to that one.
Okay.
I didn't deal with imagery. I dealt with signals intelligence. So I wasn't involved very much in depth with those kind of satellites. But they are pretty awesome.
I imagine they will be there too. Well, I'm sure you get some curly questions. I'll be looking forward to you dodging the hard ones.
I hope I do get some curly questions. I'm always looking forward to those. Thank you so much.
The recent ABC television series Pine Gap, David's the technical advisor on that, so when you see all the monitors and the satellites whizzing around and all the things that go bloop, 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 David was the man who advised the film crew, the production company, all about that. So he's going to be talking tonight about his time at Pine Gap, revealing all the secrets tonight, I'm pleased to say. And he also has some copies of his book, which you might be interested in. See David after his talk. But without any further waffle from me, ladies and gentlemen, David Rosenberg.
All right. Okay, thank you very much, Richard. Thank you. First thing I'd like to say to everybody is good evening. Good evening. And, is this thing on? It's on. Okay. Thank you very much for having me here tonight. It's a real pleasure to come out and talk to you about a subject that many of you are familiar with. You might know about some of the conspiracy theories and the myths and misconceptions about Pine Gap. But I did work out at Pine Gap for 18 years. Anyone from the CIA?
David's book he's got a few copies of his book for sale. I'm sure you'd like to read it to see whose names are in there. Would you please join with me in thanking David Rosenberg? Okay, please socialise. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Right, Jessica Singer here, a member of the board. We've got all the board members here.
Oh, we've got most of them here, yeah.
That is good.
Yeah.
It was a really busy night tonight, about as many as we usually have, isn't it?
Yeah, numbers are good.
Oh, by the way, who's on next month? Do we know yet?
Yes, next month is Gideon, who is sitting over there, and he will be talking about why the Daily Mail is wrong.
Oh, come on, fish in a barrel. That's a bit easy, isn't it? It's long because they put the entire story body in their headliner. That's why, usually.
Clickbait, yeah.
You read any Daily Mail headline, it's about 2 paragraphs on itself. But on to tonight's topic. Do you think we are better off for having a joint facility at Pine Gap? After listening to David...
Well, after listening to David, he was very persuasive.
He was. He was doing the whole ethical thing. He was doing everything's all right thing. He was doing the whole kumbaya thing. But
all legal and very, used for good only. Only for good.
Yes. And then you ask him, what if it goes boom and hits somebody else? He was a bit ummity-ah about that. Because, they mightn't have been aiming it, but they were telling you where to put it in the first place.
True. Accidents happen, though.
Yeah, I guess so that's interesting there. So you're a necessary evil, would you say?
Possibly, yeah. Okay. Yeah, unfortunate.
Okay, thanks, Jessica. And come along, speaking of necessary... Well, talk about unnecessary evils next month when we have the Daily Mail.
The Daily Mail.
I hope he's going to show some photos.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
I love the ones of Kate Moss, who was supposedly getting fat on a beach in Mallorca 10 years ago. I think she'd ballooned out to a size 8.5 in Australian or something like that.
Oh, I just don't believe it.
I know, exactly. See, that's the Daily Mail. Hello, and of course we've got a special guest here tonight. Other than David Rosenberg, we've got the very own diet skeptic herself. Hello.
Oh, hello, Maynard. How are you tonight?
Oh, pretty good. What brings you down from Brisbane?
Oh, I'm actually doing a bit of dietetic work, but I thought I'd drop into Sydney Skeptics and see the speaker for tonight, which was really quite interesting, yeah.
Oh, cool. What do you think of Skepticon this year, our big skeptical blowout?
It was really fantastic, and I think there was definitely some really great speakers and some really surprising and interesting sort of new ideas.
Did you get any good dietary ideas come into it?
There wasn't too many. There was more what not to do with diets, I think. Yeah, than what to do with diets. But, there was... diet always plays a part in any sort of skeptical activity because there's a lot of woo in nutrition.
Oh, it certainly is. But it's funny, the things you've mentioned here on the Dietary Skeptic are things that I've taken an interest in. I remember you did the story on A2 milk.
Yes.
Didn't even know it existed until you did that story, and now I drink A2 milk skim all the time, the pink cap one. Why? I don't know. Something about you mentioning it, and I know you completely said that there's no point to do it, didn't you?
There's absolutely no benefit in A2 milk, but it's 10% of our milk market, and it's absolutely taking off hugely overseas.
It could be completely placebo, but I think it tastes a bit better, but I don't know why.
You wouldn't be able to taste any taste difference whatsoever because it's only one different amino acid in all the milk, so there'll be no telltale taste. Unlike something like lactose-free milk, which does actually taste sweeter.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Well, that also the whole white knuckling thing you did when you talked about the dietary stuff. I thought if you want to lose weight, you've got to white knuckle, which I would not recommend to anyone. It just means exercising a lot and really not eating.
It does, and even for some people who do that, they'll still regain their weight that they've lost, unfortunately.
That's right, yeah.
So not even white knuckling will work for some people.
It only gives you temporary benefit. I find when I'm really stressed, I lose weight, no problem at all. Now, is that just because I'm eating less or something else is burning it somewhere?
More likely that you're eating less.
Okay.
So that's more likely.
Right, okay. So stress itself does not actually burn calories?
No, and it works in two ways. Some people will eat more when they're stressed because they'll find comfort from from food. And also, if you're releasing cortisol all the time, that can lead to a bit of weight gain, particularly abdominal adiposity. So trying to work on your stress is definitely a good way to be healthier.
So why does that chemical make you gain weight around the belly? Why that?
It's just part of what it does, a side effect of it. I'm not too sure exactly why, or if we know why, but it can make you increase your abdominal adiposity.
Yeah, I thought if you're stressed out, it might be putting it there in case you need it to do any running or something like that. Yeah, who knows?
I mean, like that, running from a bear, that sort of thing. It's probably a good reason for doing it.
Running from a koala bear, particularly. They're really smelly.
Yes, and it's very vicious.
And what did you think of? I've been asking people what they think of us having a joint facility with the Americans after hearing what David had to say tonight, Mandy. What do you think?
Well, I think that Dave went to mentioned quite a few times that the intelligence that was gained was accessible by both parties, and that sounds reasonable enough. But whether we'll ever know what the actual goings on is, I think it's a good. It looked. I think his point about it being good value for money as far as surveillance goes. I think that was a really good point.
I think so, but you've got to factor in things like Northwest Cape as well. You can't just take Pine Gap on its own. There's always Northwest Cape, and that's very much, almost a more American facility than Pine Gap because there's submarine transmissions going out of there.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot. That seems a lot more of an American sort of facility.
We only have one submarine, and it's got a captain. It's a Kelpie, I think. He's a really good submarine captain, but that Captain Kelpie.
Well, I think you're much more well-knowledged about this sort of stuff than me, so...
Okay. Well, look, I think we all learned a little bit something tonight, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It was a very interesting talk, and, I'll definitely be watching the rest of the series. So.
Thanks for being here, Mandy, and tell me, is there a bit of something you're working on for the Skeptic Zone in coming weeks? Are you looking at some dietary woo to share with us?
Yeah, Richard has been asking me for a story, so I've been looking into fish oil and whether there's any benefit in fish oil supplementations.
My dad's always given me fish oil. He's 90. He's always given me fish oil. He thinks it's good for the joints or the bones or something. I mean, I probably don't think it is, but I take one a day just to make him happy.
Yeah, I don't know whether there'd be. I don't think there'd be any harms, but I'll definitely be unpacking all the evidence, and I don't think. I think there might be a lot of marketing involved.
Oh, I think so. If you're taking fish oil out there, stay tuned in coming weeks. Thanks, Mandy.
Thanks a lot, Maynard.
Hey, Richard's doing a bit of spoon bending here, and look, Mandy's being wowed by you. Are you being wowed?
I am. I definitely didn't get mine to bend or wiggle.
Haven't you seen him do this before?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's really fantastic. He really Yuri the Gellers out of it, don't you, Richard?
I do. It's great to see Mandy Lee Noble here, the Skeptic Zone reporter.
I've been chatting to her how she's got something coming up about fish oil.
Oh, yes, that's going to be interesting.
Which I've been taking every day to keep my dad happy, and he swears by it for joints and things like that.
I usually swear at it myself.
Anyway, look, I've tried to get a few people to ask them about the Pine Gap question, but a lot of people will not go on the record. I've had 3 people who won't go on the record tonight.
Oh, I'm not surprised. It's a very controversial topic, but what a great talk from David tonight.
It was great, pretty good. He got some curly ones there, I thought.
A few curly ones, a few people were very suspicious.
Well, see, of course he wouldn't know the whole thing's called echelon. Echelon is probably what the name is given to the end user. He's just the back-end guy who collects some of the frequencies for it.
Well, that's what he's telling us.
Well, exactly, that kind of thing. But also, Echelon's probably about a decade old now. They've probably got something much better with a much better name.
Planet Maynard.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's cool.
Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone. Coming up next week on the show, we hear from Mal Vickers. Now, some months ago on the Skeptic Zone, I put out a plea for technically minded skeptics to contact Mal Vickers concerning an internet project he was doing, and he's going to report back about the wonderful success that was, and how the Skeptic Zone listeners around the world came to his aid and helped him do something which is of great benefit to the skeptical cause, a great benefit to society and science. That's coming up next week. Also, part 3, the last part of Maynard's chat with Yvette d'Entremont, the SciBabe. She's going to be discussing William Shatner, why not getting sued, and her possible new job. Also interviews with people like Dr. Pamela Gay and Kirsten Banks, both wonderful astronomers. Thank you to those people who have recently joined the list of people contributing to the Skeptic Zone via Patreon or PayPal, mostly via Patreon these days. And I've just noticed, in fact, I heard a news report 2 days ago. Our dollar has tanked. When I say tanked, it's at the bottom of the tank, the bottom of the barrel. I think it's hovering around 70 cents US. Not good if you're going to the States from here. An expensive holiday. But if you're in the States sending money to Australia, your money magically increases. In fact, if you want to come and visit Australia, Americans, now's a good time. Your dollar goes a lot further. But for those people who contribute to the Skeptic Zone in US dollars, your dollars magically increase by the time they get here to Skeptic Zone headquarters. And I think I mentioned I've recently bought some new equipment to make it a lot easier for me to do multi-people interviews and mixing and things like that. Much appreciated, all because of your generosity. All you people who chip in, even if it's $5 a month, it means the show keeps going. Simple as that. Don't forget to check out Maynard's own podcasts at maynard.com.au. And if you have a scientific or skeptically related podcast anywhere in the world, please get in touch. www.skepticzone.tv. You'll see the contact links. And I'd probably be very happy to promote your podcast or your blog. As long as it's scientifically related or skeptically motivated or something like that, we'll have a look. But for this week, this is Richard Saunders signing off from Sydney, Australia. You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Please visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for show notes, contacts, and to access the back catalogue of episodes going back to 2008. You can follow the Skeptic Zone podcast on Twitter at Skeptic Zone, visit our Facebook page, or leave a review on iTunes. You can also support the Skeptic Zone via Patreon or PayPal. The Skeptic Zone podcast is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed on the Skeptic Zone are not necessarily those of Australian Skeptics or any other skeptical organisation. What a nice coffee that was. Yeah, she's looking at me. All right, walk over. Hello, I know we did this before, but it didn't work, so we have to do it again. Is that all right? It's Karuna from the Madame Frou Frou Cafe. I'll just pass you the 10-sided dice right there, the 10-sided die. So, give it a good shake, please. Shake, 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 shake. Oh, we're going to put it into a little glass. And the first number is?
Lucky number 5.
Number 5 is the first number. Remember, it's from 0 to 10, or 1 to 10, I should say. Next number. One more time. Here we go.
No.
6.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a little line under it, means that's the way you look at it. So that's 5 and 6. One more time. I wonder how you're going there, listening at home or in the car or on your commute. Ooh. 10. Ooh, it's a 0, but that on this dice it means 10.
10.
So what was it? It was 5, 6, and 10.
Yes.
And where's the best coffee in Glebe?
Glebe Point Road, 379.
Madame Frou Frou.
Yeah.
Thank you.